the premise that math is antithetical to an enjoyable experience in anything in life is being mined by people looking for something else. Because sadly, math won. Everything's run through engines that optimize efficiency for good or bad. But if you are competitive, if you are a gambler, you are relying on things that are boring. Probability. It's built in. It's like the air you breathe. What is water, right? Like a fish doesn't know it's in water. We're in math. So to say the NBA has to curtail its culture that is reliant on numbers is a disingenuous idea because you are the number.
We've talked about the merits of the too many threes argument enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've always settled on there's a little bit of truth to it, but not really. That's
if you're bad at threes, don't shoot them. Yeah.
Well, there's that. Yes, I agree with that part.
Yeah.
I mostly mean that I think there is a disconnect in that shooting threes is valuable. We know that by the math, and it's like these are good shots. A transition three is a good shot. Like
a corner
step
three
back
is always
three
a good shot.
Is a better shot than a pull-up jumper most of the time. Like the threes are just better shots. And the fact that they often feel cheap in the moment. And I think there is a schism there that is kind of hard to solve without educating people as to why this is. Mm-hmm. If people think that's a bad shot, but the math says it's not, people just need to understand that it is a good shot and why. Because people think that a pull-up jumper or a turnaround in the post is a good shot because they've grown up thinking that that's a good shot. And rushing a three is something that announcers will sit there and say, like, could have gotten a better shot than that one. You're like, no, the math says that's a good shot. We just need to update the way we look at the game. But I think that is a real issue that's more about communication than it is about aesthetics. Because, yeah, when teams ping-pong up and down the court, shooting a bunch of threes, people say, this is bad basketball. They aren't valuing these possessions. If they understood that those possessions are actually being used in a smart way, I think you'd have less hostility.
And to your point, aesthetics is my favorite counterpoint that I cannot dispute. When someone's like, hey, I grew up with like Patrick Ewing backing down Hakeem Olajuwon, and I know like that takes 4 or 5 seconds and it's annoying, but it felt dramatic and it felt like the gravitas was different. And it felt like a boxing match. And I know I reduced a team sport to 2 people, but it was awesome. And then if Olajuwon wins, like we could differentiate between success and failure better and create mythologies. And it kind of all worked 1,000%. I can't argue with that. That's awesome. Like that's cool as hell.
Yeah, it's true. And I do think there is a sterile feel to the game sometimes where because they're pushing the tempo, because they're looking to get shots, there isn't that kind of human contact. There isn't blood and sweat and tears and sharp elbows and guys fighting each other. The court's really spread out. There is a sort of disconnect between the players in terms of physicality. That's not the whole game, but I understand how it can feel like that at times when it's drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick. Like when you're playing the Pacers, their whole thing is like spacing out so wide that you're kind of not around them at any point. They're just driving and kicking, moving the ball. There is something different to like, it's Embiid versus Marc Gasol, and Gasol's just got his number.
So are
like you remember those matchups?
Is space like kind of a loose adjacent continuation of our like discussion about incels, right? It's just like, well, before phones, we would just approach the other person, look them in the eye, and engage. Now it's like you're just running away from contact. You just don't want that dog. You don't have that dog to face the issue head on. You're just like avoiding fouls, avoiding contact, and shooting these fraudulent shots, like, are you just on like swiping left, if that's a term, on like 5 potential partners as opposed to just talking one in real life?
No, get your ass in the paint.
Right.
Push your
Right.
hindquarters into another large man and shoulder him in the chest.
Stop scanning and get to talking.
No, I think your comparison is correct. And it does feel that it is less dramatic at times. But I think that's just at moments, right? Because generally that's not, the whole game is not just threes. You know, you look at the stars in the league, that's not what most of them do. And the ones who are notable for it are people like Curry, who are geniuses at it.
Yeah.
Most stars aren't doing that. It's just that those wide open jumpers that role players used to get that were 16 feet are now 23. Whatever, man. You go back and just watch old games, and this thing of the romanticism kind of falls apart.